A warm welcome once again to the Holiday Rock Record Library. We are currently in a Teutonic castle which has been beautifully converted into a hotel, and these exclusive interiors where we find ourselves have inspired me to take a moment to record an episode that will be the most serious and thoughtful one to date in the new Rock Record Library, serving as a sort of preview of what's to come once the holiday season has concluded. But also, the sheer significance of the records I'll be presenting today will be truly immense. This might sound a bit like a joke, but one of the records we'll have the chance to see today in the Rock Record Library, albeit only briefly in a cutaway, is one of the rarest records in the world. And I don't think anyone has ever shown it in any film before. And I don't just mean our Rock Record Library, but also global films from some of the leading channels dedicated to vinyl. So it's worth staying until the end to see it.
Discover Rock Behind the Iron Curtain, the definitive English-language record guide to Czechoslovak rock from 1964 to 1979. Nearly 300 pages, hundreds of color images of original record covers and labels, and almost 100 reviewed LPs. Available now at KameleonRecords.pl.
This episode is dedicated to the record fair in Den Bosch, which we've returned to several times over the holidays. And today there'll be 3 cutaways from there, showing which records I had the chance to see and hold in my hands. But all these records will be from the very top tier of collecting. And as I say, that last one is from an out-of-this-world collector's tier. I think it's a rarity that every serious record collector in the world would want in their collection. And perhaps nobody actually has it. It's very interesting, but we'll get to that at the end. At the Den Bosch fair, as at any serious large fair, there's a sort of internal market among collectors where they show each other rare gems, look at them, negotiate whether some might want to sell or others might want to buy. Obviously these are very expensive, so there's this bit of back and forth, some looking, some buying, a bit of haggling. And I'll provide a brief overview of these records, while there'll be cutaways demonstrating clearly that they really were in my hands, and perhaps some closer shots of the covers and labels, which is absolutely essential and significant in this case. The first record I had the chance to see is the debut Led Zeppelin. This record, in its original version from the very first pressing, as most of you probably know, was released with blue Led Zeppelin lettering on the cover. A light blue, turquoise actually, that's how you'd describe it. It might not be the ultimate holy grail, but it's certainly an object of desire for many, many collectors. I'll show this record up close after the holidays on the Rock Record Library. But for now, just a cutaway of how it looked in my hands. And it's interesting because there's only one cover, but there are actually many variations of the label. And the real experts get totally obsessed, checking matrix numbers, tiny differences in the lettering, and so on and so forth. We're focusing on this cover. It was reportedly on sale for 2 weeks. No one really knows why it was withdrawn. Did someone not like it? Or is there also a theory that maybe the right ink wasn't used? There's a theory that the Zeppelin's manager, Peter Grant, said this turquoise was not serious enough for their music. And maybe there's something to that, but never mind. What matters is this beautiful cover remains. You can buy it. Well, prices fluctuate between 2,000 and 3,000 euros for such a copy. However, well, it looks truly fantastic. I've always regretted that this didn't become the main standard cover design, but that's how such a rarity was created, and we have this first turquoise Zeppelin on the Rock Record Library. The second record I'm presenting, and there'll be a cutaway in a moment, is the first British edition of the Beatles' first LP. Please Please Me, on the famous label known as Black Gold, but in the stereo version. Is also undoubtedly an object of desire for many collectors. The record was apparently pressed in a quantity of 500 copies. That's quite intriguing, because it's not a record that doesn't turn up. I've held about 5 copies in my hands myself. And it seems to me that for a title like this, which everyone would want 500 copies, is a bit low. I think there must have been more, or it's so expensive that these records keep circulating. I don't know. Anyway, I got to hold this record. There's actually a moment in that video at the end where a Danish guy who was hanging around the cellar comes up to me and says he's never seen it in person before. Well, it's a record you'd have to pay £10,000 for, I'd say, as a starting point. Interestingly, this label was changed very quickly, and back in '63, 4 other editions were released on that yellow-black label. So there are effectively 5 editions in 1 year, but only this one. The first is on that archetypal, fantastic black-gold label in stereo. This record in mono, of course, on that black-gold label, oh, it's much cheaper. What can I say? Well, it's very pleasant to hold it in your hand. This copy was truly pristine, fantastic, without the slightest scratch. The cover was also in perfect condition, so it's the kind of rarity that I think, well, in our Polish rock record collections, certainly no one has ever shown this before. But it's not something that's unattainable because, as I say, at Western fairs, especially the English ones, you can come across this record. It's just that you'd have to shell out those £10,000 to own it. Now, the final record I'm going to present today, that rarity I mentioned right at the start, is an absolute total holy grail. To be honest, I wasn't even aware that such a thing could exist. The gentleman selling this stereo Beatles record took this very item out of a case and said, "Have you ever seen anything like this?" It's the same record. That is the first pressing of the first Beatles album in stereo. But it's not the black gold label yet. It's a test pressing, meaning before EMI started pressing, they pressed some test records with a white label, and these records likely only went to some technical staff. I suspect to George Martin, maybe to Brian Epstein. I don't think they even reached the Beatles then, because they were just starting out and probably didn't have that kind of access yet. There might have been 5 of these records, maybe 10, or perhaps even just 2. I think that's an exaggeration, but I read somewhere that they also made 2 test pressings. I checked, and that gentleman claimed so too. Such a test pressing has never in history been sold at any auction. You won't find this label on the internet either. You'll find the mono version. The mono version actually sold at auctions. You can find scans of it. However, the stereo version has never appeared anywhere. To be honest, perhaps it's the only such copy that has survived to this day. The record was in absolutely top condition. The price is 10 times that of the regular black gold, which is £100,000. That's the price of this record. I'll show a cutaway of this label, which can't be found online. It differs from the mono in that there's this small, delicate stereo stamp in the middle. So Rock Record Library presents something that really can't be seen anywhere else in the world. The first Beatles album as a test press in stereo. Truly an absolute holy grail of vinyl collecting. And I only slightly regret that I didn't show this record better to the camera, you know? But well, the emotions were high and time just flew by. So I took it, held it, admired it, and was only afraid that something might happen to it because £100,000, well, it's not an amount you can easily pull out of your wallet just in case. So I hope that was a little bit interesting in a slightly different style than just those short holiday snippets. And as I said, it's a kind of preview of what will be happening at Rock Record Library after the holidays. I'll be talking a bit more about a given record, showing it personally as well. Well, here, unfortunately, these 3 copies I've talked about, I can't really show them personally because, as you can guess, I don't own any of these records. But Rock Record Library allows us, as I have already said in one of the previous episodes, to get at least a little bit tangibly closer to these super rare vinyl rarities. And that's about it from these very exclusive surroundings in this very pleasant armchair. To finish, a little sightseeing cutaway to lighten the mood after those high prices. We'll see the Giżycko Canal, the swing bridge and the castle exterior where we're staying. Since I had the pleasure of filming here, I'd once again like to recommend Hotel San Bruno in Giżycko. A great atmosphere, exclusive conditions and friendly service. So do come and relax as it's really worth it. And after the holidays, we'll be back. Not with the holiday Rock Record Library, but the normal, regular Rock Record Library, which I hope will become an interesting channel for vinyl collectors, but also fans of rock music from years ago, and anyone who's even slightly interested in the subject. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next episodes.